Are we
Hello,
here?
hello.
Are we live? Where are my faces? Hold on. There are my faces. Hi.
Jenna's
Hi.
ashamed of
How
us.
is
Doesn't want to show our
everyone?
faces.
I want to
Yeah.
show more faces. And new faces. Or a new face. I'm sorry. We have a new face. Please,
Yeah, it's just me.
introduce
Just calling
yourself.
me out. So I'm just a mysterious stranger that Jenna found on the side of the road and invited to this stream. I was dragged in kicking and screaming, but all is good. So my name is Russ Burton, or at least that's my pen name. I'm not super new to the ACA, but I'm sort of new to getting involved with this stuff, and so I ended up in the international free thinkers thing. And Jenna's like, "Hey, you want to be on the stream?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So here I am.
Good. I'm glad I pulled you off the street. It was the best decision I've ever made. Well, Happy New Year, everyone. Nice to see everyone. I haven't seen you since last year.
I know it's been a long year.
It has.
Yeah.
Already. It's already have been a long year. Justin, how are you?
I'm good.
Co-host extraordinaire to co-host extraordinaire.
I'm exhausted, but well.
What are you drinking?
Just Truly's hard lemonade.
Yum, yum. Giggler, how are you, sir?
I'm hanging in there.
You're hanging in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
We
What
should
are you
probably introduce the show sometime on one of these shows.
I can get to that.
Okay.
Okay. You want to do it?
No.
Okay.
I have it in my head. We never get there.
I know. I'm sorry. I assume everyone knows what the heck.
Yeah, all 5 people that watch.
Yeah, all 5 people. Hi.
All of us.
Our biggest fans.
Pretty much. We're our own fans. Giggler, what are you drinking?
Coffee.
Coffee?
I'm drinking
Coffee?
coffee tonight. Yeah.
Why do you say it like that? Coffee?
I don't know.
Okay.
He was Boston for a second.
You were, which is weird because you're like down the street from me.
I'm finally not wearing a Boston hat. Yeah. I don't have my hat. I don't have a beer. I'm lost right now.
Oh.
Yeah, not drinking anything. Nope. But I'm doing all right. This is it's crazy. It's been a crazy week. And
Why did something happen?
Yeah.
Did something happen?
What are you talking about, Multi?
Please explain. Tell us all
well,
about it.
That's the thing. I keep on thinking back to this conversation I had. This was pre-COVID, and they were talking about how, and just kind of some noble lie shit. It makes them feel better, so it's good for them to have it. And now I see this shit, and I'm like, I want to go back and I want to talk to her, and say, hey, remember that conversation we had? Can I get your opinion now?
I had the similar thing where I was listening to a podcast that people would call in and talk to this person. It was from 2016, and someone was talking about Trump, and they were just kind of like, oh, I don't see how bad he could be, and why don't we just give him a shot? He's different than all the other people. I was like, oof, I hope this person is either rethinking that. I really hope they weren't at the rally.
Yeah.
4 years later.
Yeah. But before we get into that, per Justin, let me introduce the show. Happy New Year. Welcome back to If We Are Sober, representation of the International Free Thinkers Discord server. So we're back in color and loving it.
You're in color.
I'm in color.
Yeah, the rest of us are pale.
We're not.
I stand up for this. I like it. Ooh, it's Christine. I haven't seen Christine in a minute. Hi, Christine.
Hello.
Nice to see you again. All right. I like it. Okay, now, did I do good?
Yeah, no, we're great. That was good.
Got it. Now we know what show we're on, so that's out of the way. Let's talk about this week. I'm sure that's what we want to talk about. Oh, and I'm drinking wine with strawberries in it, by the way.
Is that how we're going to start every show? What are we drinking? I can do that.
I mean, it makes sense. I forgot to tell you beforehand. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
So professional. Anyway, yeah. Giggler. Oh, Justin.
No, I was just gonna say that.
Oh, that's not the bad part. He's naked over there, so I'm trying to find the camera.
For the record, Ras, I'm just going to shorten your name. I'm going to say Ras.
That's okay.
Cool. Yeah, it's not unusual that we have half-naked children running across Giggler's background. So
this is bath time. Okay.
This is normal.
Yeah. FYI.
That's the thing.
Justin, please.
I was going to say to kind of just follow up with Multi and Russ Burton was saying is that there's been a number of tweets and Facebook posts and social media posts in general that are being kind of resurfaced from the past year or two saying, protesters violence is never warranted. Our side doesn't do any of this. Oh, these hypocrites are out there, doing these things, and now they're condemning it or whatever. And then if our team loses, we're just going to go peacefully and go to work because we have jobs, yada yada yada. And now it's like, yeah, there was thousands of you marching and hundreds storming the Capitol building and dozens. I think last report was like over 60 people arrested, and it was like 2 p.m. on a Wednesday. Mm-hmm. When it kicked off, you know what I mean? It was all a thing. So it's like that. Just and this is why you see everybody backpedaling now, with Mitch McConnell giving if he wasn't Mitch McConnell, this would be like a really good uniting speech. Lindsey Graham, Mike Pence, all these people are backpedaling, trying to be united. We're going to follow the rule of law, yada yada yada. After they've been inciting these events for years.
And then the last minute, resignations.
Oh yeah, Betsy DeVos just stepped down, just resigned.
I didn't hear that.
Well, her job is ending in 2 weeks, anyways. It's like, okay, now you want to finally,
right?
This is the line in the sand when you're already on your last paycheck. It's like, oh, you can't fire me, I quit. Like
it's symbolic. It's a symbolic. See, when I saw it go across the line, I quit. So
it's all, you can't fire me, I quit. It's all symbolic, and it's all like they're trying to save face for the what they've created over the past 4 years, and it's too late. They're gonna any argument, any debate, any procedure, any conversation that comes up, it's gonna say, look, you're a guy, you supported this. You condoned it until after it happened, and then you finally wanted to say, okay, we've gone too far. When you literally would go on social media every day saying we need to make them pay for what they've done in some form or another, and knowing that there's all these fanatics out there that would do just exactly what they did.
Yeah, and not to impart similarities, because I can speak volumes of whatever kind of bullshit similarities they want to put on with Black Lives Matter. But I want to first say with the similarities of how when Trump was elected 4 years ago, and how, yes, we protested, and I'm going to say we protested because we actually did. That bullshit yesterday wasn't a protest. We protested and didn't, rob or, steal shit off of the Capitol building or whatnot. There's a clear line and a difference from the type of, stuff that we saw yesterday.
Yeah, imagine if Trump won the popular vote and lost the Electoral College. It would be abolished overnight.
Oh yeah.
It would be gone
with a quickness.
Mm-hmm.
They would riot and hold the Capitol and hold legislation hostage until it disappeared.
I mean, I'm wondering because I didn't realize until today that Trump was holding a rally that these people that stormed the Capitol were at.
Yep. That
him and Trump Jr. and a Republican senator riled people up, saying we need to go down there now. We're just like, let's go fight. These are the words that are coming out of the president's mouths. And then sent them off.
Yep.
After whipping up a mob.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then there was five so far counted 5 GOP lawmakers among the mob. One of them live streamed himself
I was just
in the
going to say that.
mob.
Yeah.
Like that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Oof.
So he needs to stop being president sometime in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then be pardoned and go his merry way is what needs to happen. Ideally.
Yeah. You really think it's good? That pardon's going to come? I know you've been saying it, and
I
you've been
hope-
right on a few things so far, and so
I hope Biden does it.
You really do.
I really do. Yeah.
I gotta-
The last thing you want a movement to have is a martyr. And we make a martyr out of him, and this just never ends. You pardon him, and the country moves on.
So you think by Biden not pardoning Trump makes him a martyr?
If Trump goes to jail, right, that motivates his base. It doesn't stop anything. If we, yeah, sorry, my wife's yelling in the background. No, I think we don't make a martyr of him. We do what we did with Nixon, and nobody liked it, but it's the best thing for the country. Let's move on from here.
Yeah, there's definitely options going forward. Do you want to show force and prosecute Trump and try to convict him and throw him in jail, which I think is a lost cause of having him face jail time.
Right.
You know,
it's probably not going to succeed.
The balance of wanting to show that we want justice and we want to actually implement it when we think people have done wrong. At the same time, do we want to have the entire Biden presidency, encased with all of this?
Right.
It's very unlikely that it's not going to happen. Like, I just feel like he's not going to be put in anyway, even if they found everything. He would just
Yeah, the best case scenario is he just goes away quietly. He can start his Rush Limbaugh, Alex Jones type radio station, whatever he's going to do on the fringes after being banned from every other platform, and he'll be in that group, and but that's about as good as it's going to get, I think.
Yeah, that would be the ideal scenario, I think.
I mean, ideally he wouldn't do any of that, but I think that's the intention, and it's probably as good as it's going to get is to just let him talk to himself on the radio or wherever and move on.
Didn't he go onto Parler once Twitter banned him? That's what I heard from somebody.
Yeah,
today. Well, yeah. Facebook and Twitter have shut him down, right?
Well, he's back on Twitter.
Yeah, he's back on Twitter as of a few hours ago.
Oh, it was only a 12-hour. That's right.
He put out a 2.5-minute video acknowledging that he lost the election. So I call that progress.
Well, acknowledging that Biden will be the next president, not that he lost. These are intentionally worded the way that they are.
But he wasn't using the kind of verbiage he has been for the past 2 months. Well, he didn't say fraud one time. He didn't say stolen one time. He didn't say rigged one time. And that's in everything he's been saying. Yeah, although Twitter would have pulled it right back down had he done that. So. He's
skirting the rules now, and he didn't condemn any of the previous statements that he made, or the verbiage that he used, or the actions that occurred. He just said, okay, Biden will be the next president.
Yep.
And
we need a peaceful transition. Come together as a nation. He said the right things. That's what I wanted to hear from him.
But it's a day too late.
I wanted to hear an apology, but that's not coming.
It's a day too late. The damage is done.
Yeah,
there's people like the squad, AOC and them, that are never going to let this go. They're going to bring it up and throw it in their face every single time anybody talks about it, and the GOP tries to defend themselves. They're never going to let it go.
Oh yeah.
And so the damage is already done.
Yeah, I was watching the shots of Pramila in the balcony, hunkering down. It was pretty powerful. I'm sure she will not forget that soon.
Yeah, when your vice president is hiding from your supporters in the Capitol building, that's a problem for your party.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I don't necessarily agree that it should just, let him just walk quietly. Like, I know it's very small percentage chance that he would actually go to jail and all that stuff, but just to allow for nothing to happen or for even, at best, it wouldn't wash anything the Republicans have said and done up to this point. But at the very least, they could, try and do the impeachment thing again.
What does jailing Donald Trump accomplish? What's the goal? Other than it makes, now I feel better, he's getting punished.
Well, the only thing it does is silence him from his 400 tweets a day or however many he's putting out. I mean, what do we got in the comments here? So, jail will never happen. He never said storm the Capitol. Thanks, Smurf. Whatever. I noticed a lot of Nazi and adjacent
paraphrasing
iconography in the photos and videos. Yes, there was a Confederate flag marching up and down the hall of the Capitol building. That's going to be the image that is associated with his presidency. That one, and the guy in the speaker's chair, and then the guy in the office. Right. Those are going to be the images that are forever associated with this presidency. That it culminated in this riot and hostile takeover of while certifying the elections, literally trying to undermine the entire democratic process.
History was not going to be kind to him before this.
Yeah, but he didn't. He condemned protests of people just walking up and down the street more than he did this thing, which is an insurrection, pretty much, of trying to stop, the election process from happening. He didn't condemn it at all. He just said, "Don't be violent," but he was perfectly fine with it happening. Like, if they could have, taken over the Capitol building without being violent, he would have been perfectly fine with that.
Of course. And to clarify, I'm not saying that we should just lock him up and throw him away and everything. Yes, obviously that doesn't just, throwing someone in prison, I agree with these sticks. Throwing someone in prison doesn't just necessarily say that we're just keeping them from talking. I'm not advocating for just locking him up for, flippantly. I'm saying, he has broken laws, over time as he's been president. And, with this going on, it just seems like, another slap on the wrist for okay, well, you're done being president now. Go hide in your little hole and never bother us again. Really? That's he's really gonna walk out and get away with that? That's unacceptable.
There's a fair percentage of Americans who really do believe that he won the election and it got stolen. They believe that, right? Those people already feel like they have been cheated and treated unfairly.
I need you to put a number to that. What does fair mean? What is a fair number? I don't understand that.
20 or 30% of Americans, maybe half his base.
And you found that's a gut feeling. That's from news resorts. That's
a gut feeling.
Okay.
Yeah, people believe a lot of things that are objectively detached from reality, but they believe those things. That's
true.
The thing that we're all familiar with. That.
Well, I mean, if you look at other things that we have going on, like the COVID vaccine, right? Only 60% of people accept that it's safe and efficacious, that it's that they agree to take it, right? So we have 40% of people are saying no. It's dangerous. I'd rather just deal with this fucking plague.
Yeah, so should we listen to those 40% of people?
What?
Well, no, I'm just
the issue is that they're going to do it no matter what.
Yeah, I'm just saying that when it's easy to see how large number of people can be misled or deceived or believe misinformation or just don't put in the effort or don't care to find correct information.
Right. No, I was agreeing with you. I was trying to drive your point.
Yeah.
Why do we jail people? Is it for justice? Is that really the reason? Or is it to stop that person from committing similar crimes? And as a indication to other people, they should not commit similar crimes.
Yes, two reasons. That one, if someone is a danger or is a hazard to society, you remove them from society. One, and two, whether or not it is, I believe it is deterrence. It does work as deterrence. I don't have numbers for that, but I guess that's my gut feeling is that one of the reasons it's there is for deterrence.
Well, hang on. Neither one of those reasons applies to the situation with Donald Trump. He's not going to do this again. He's not going to have another term as president and do the same crap again. And nobody else is either. We don't have to make an example of him.
Right, and there's also no chance of reform, right? Which is which is why we, basically lock people up. Think about what you did, and we'll let you out later.
Just punishment, huh?
Yeah, I mean, what we want, what we're talking about is vengeance.
Right. Well, there's another theory that goes along with deterrence is not only deterrence of the person, but also deterrence of the overall whole. The idea that if we jail Trump for doing these things, the next person who considers it will think twice before they do. Or I'm not sure how effective that actually is, because someone might just look at what Trump did and said, okay, I'll do that, but I just won't make all the mistakes he did.
Right. Very, very good point. Did any of you listen to the responses from the world leaders, Angela Merkel, the president of the EU, France and Canada? The EU president, her statement of, we have to be careful in all our democracies because this is the thing that can happen now.
Yeah.
There's already right-wing stuff everywhere else in all the different...
Yeah, Trump normalized a lot of actions and behaviors that would have completely tanked anyone else's political career before it even got off the ground. If anybody else was behaving the way he did during his campaign, they would have gotten nowhere.
We can't say that. We can't say that because we don't know how much that Cambridge Analytica and Facebook and all of that, if a different person used all of those tools as maliciously as Trump, do you think they still wouldn't have been able to do it? Or
if they did it the same way, what I'm saying is if somebody else, like another candidate, said like one or two or some of the things that he said, he got away with it because it was a constant bombardment of, before anybody even got a chance to analyze one action, he was already doing another one.
Oh, yeah.
It was never time for people to think about what it was that's happening, because it just moved forward. He just railroaded over the entire process.
And there's also just
the elections,
who liked this sort of behavior of his. And that's just kind of more glorified in America, I feel.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Nationalism is what it's called.
Yeah, a lot of people that are fed up with the entire political process, and a much bigger, deeper conversation as to why these people feel this way. Why, if you do feel this way, some of these behaviors are justified, and why, how did we fail as a democracy, as a literate, scientifically advanced nation? How come we have so many people that are so susceptible to believe in these things? Like, what went wrong, and how do we avoid it in the future?
Do you know Insight? You know that software from Cambridge Analytica that the Koch brothers and what's the guy's name? The other guy that was Cambridge Analytica.
Yeah.
And was Trump's campaign manager. What's his name? Anyway.
Yeah.
You had so many people arrested; it's hard to keep up.
There's definitely since the 2014 election, on Facebook, there's been so much work on targeting ads and radicalizing people.
Psychology is a really, really big part of the political atmosphere now. They've taken all of the same tricks and education and thing that they've learned from the marketing and applied that to politicizing individuals. Facebook, is an expert at getting eyeballs on screens and getting you attached to a service or attached to a screen and putting the right information in front of you over and over again to keep you occupied and just keep you, reading it. And it's so effective at it that, they're going to, there's been lawsuits, there's been congressional trials over it. There's been a lot of stuff saying, hey, it's they're so powerful and they have the tools available that nobody can contend with, that it's dangerous. And it's almost to the point where you can't help yourself, and they know it, and they leverage that. But, you know, it's the political parties are doing the same thing. You know, it's why, you know, basically the candidate with the most money wins every single time, because they know how to leverage marketing and you know, and how to use advertisement to basically get what they, you know, get whatever they want.
Did that happen this last 2020 election?
I'd have to look into it. Yeah.
Not quite sure.
I thought there was a lot more grassroots stuff, and I don't know. That would be another interesting thing to look into.
It may have a bit more just because of the pandemic and kind of how, you know, campaigns kind of.
Well, I think something like COVID does put, you know, kind of change the battlefield a little bit. Whereas how insanely poorly it was handled plays, you know, can play a big effect. But you got to remember, when we had people like Yang and Bloomberg and all these high ticket players that donated all of their campaign funds, they hundreds of millions of dollars pumped into the DNC. And you know, there was a lot of money involved. It started off, you know, some candidates grassroots, but there was a lot of money involved in getting Trump out of office.
Well,
all right, we got some comments going on here.
We had a lot. Had a lot. Hold on. There's one. This one from Jane Doe. I know. This is essentially what I'm trying to say. I'm not suggesting that imprisoning someone is effective or moral. However, if we have this system and the rules don't apply to Trump like they do you or me, is that okay?
Yeah, it is. Unfortunately.
That's okay?
Yeah.
Wait,
reality.
Okay.
Well, it's not okay, but it's something that we accept all the time.
Right.
We can say that it's not okay this time or rail against it, but we accept it all day, every day. That people with enough money to fight the system, with enough resources to get around it, they don't go to jail. There's very little punishment that affects them personally. Even if they get assets forfeited or they lose their business or whatever, they still have enough resources available to keep living their same lifestyle. And this happens all the time.
Who was it that said it would just be this circus that basically took over Biden's entire first term? That's all anybody would remember about it. And it's not going to accomplish anything.
And it's also, think about it, like the entire time that he's going through these proceedings, he's going to have a whole sleuth of the country.
And it's going to platform him.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He's going to be rallying outside the courthouse.
Yep.
Jack,
if you don't do that, he just goes away.
Yeah, Jack Parker's a risk of him being considered a martyr is much less serious than the more likely scenario that he will continue to promote fascism if not dealt with, but succeed next time. Well, that's another thing, is that even if he was indicted and we put him on trial, it's going to take years for the types of things that he's going to be tried for. A lot of it is to do with like taxes and business deals and stuff like that, not inciting riots or calling Russia or whatever we want to get him for politically, because that's a whole different ballgame of like impeachment or anything like that. We're talking about criminal trials that deal with money take a very, very long time, and he's not going to be held in jail while it happens. He's going to be off to do whatever he wants.
And they know exactly how to prolong these sort of trials, just to make them as long as it's complicated.
Yeah, he has like 150 lawsuits lodged against him, and he's skirted every one of them.
I agree with you, Jack. Exactly. And yes, we unfortunately accept this reality. It is not okay. Absolutely not okay. I don't accept that, and plenty of people don't. It happens, but I'm never okay with it and would advocate otherwise. Same.
So what happens if you are convinced that he's done things he should be punished for, but punishing him will make the situation worse than just pardoning him? Do you stick to principles and say, well, we got to punish them anyway,
what do you say to the other side?
even though we
then?
know it
For
makes
not
things
punishing
worse?
them? Okay, so what do you say to the other side then? So we're just gonna have him go on the merry way. We're just as mad too.
Yeah.
And then it'll be Trump Jr. In 4 years running.
Oh, no,
That
he doesn't
feels
have the
unlikely.
same
No.
cult. He doesn't have the same personality to create a cult.
Mm.
Or the face.
He
I don't know,
doesn't.
he might
He
just
hasn't
be able
had
to
his
go
own.
off he just might be able to go off the coattails.
I mean-
I know they're already thinking
He
of
doesn't
trying
have
to get
the he doesn't have the charisma for it.
Justin's exactly right. Trump, this is a cult, right? That's what this is. And we know what happens when you make a martyr of the leader of a cult.
Oh yeah, it goes
People don't
away.
Forget it for 2,000 years. That's
No,
what
no,
happens.
no, no, no,
how
no.
these
That's not.
things
That's
work.
not what happens. Actually,
All right. Okay.
it's that was not the making of the Christianity. It was the Romans. Come on, man.
All right.
If
Giggler only knows Mormons. Okay, leave him alone.
Only knows one
no,
name.
there has been work. If a personality is, look at what was that? All those churches, the mega church who's had a leader that goes megalomaniac and then gets busted for it, and then that whole church falls apart, and then all of those parishioners go and find a different church a different megalomaniac to.
But we're not talking
idolize.
about one church. We're talking about millions of people, right? This is a global movement. There's people from other countries, that are advocating for overthrowing our whole democratic process because they think the election was stolen from Trump. This is like a global phenomenon. It's not just like one church with one guy and hundreds of followers.
Really?
Yeah, people are, this is like a big thing.
Although I would like to see him go to jail.
I mean, it would be, look, watching him being carted off to jail, like in handcuffs, would be, would be amazing.
Did you hear that?
Yes. That's why I laughed. She's like, wow.
We could have that debate for your entertainment.
Please don't get in trouble. You are like the prime entertainment here.
So wait till he goes. Wait till he goes to Scotland to play, and then have Interpol nab him, and then it's Crimes Against Humanity in The Hague, and then we're off the hook.
Yeah. I wanted to ask. I don't know the name. ZYYXS. People talking about impeaching him. Like, how long did the impeachment trial take last time? It took like 2 months. We have 13 days left.
I think they're just saying is that if they impeach him, it's impossible for him to try and run again. So
I'm saying they have to complete the impeachment, right? They can't just put in articles of impeachment and then that's it, right? They actually have to find him whatever the version of guilty is in the impeachment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it's just like convict him
Before the new Congress begins.
Well, the new Congress was already sworn in.
Oh, okay.
They swear in on the 3rd, I think.
See, me and my civics just failing.
Is anybody seriously concerned that he's going to do a Grover Cleveland and run and get elected 4 years from now? I can't imagine. I know you hope so.
Every one of his followers believe that that's 100% what will happen.
Yes,
every single one of them.
His followers are detached from reality. They believe a lot of crazy things.
I mean, there is a thing where like because how many Republicans just voted for Trump because he was the Republican nominee. If 4 years down the line they promote somebody else, just any other. Yeah,
but they tried that in 2016, right? They tried with everything in their party to not have him as a candidate.
There were a few,
and he destroyed every one of them on the debate stage and in the media. He got to the point where he was the only option to win for them.
Well, him and Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
In that situation, he might have been the better option.
But they knew in 2016 that he was their only chance of beating Hillary.
Yeah.
So they chose him, right? So it doesn't matter how horrible the person is. They're going to choose whoever has the best chance of winning.
Just to push whatever agenda they need.
Because it betters the position of everybody else in the party.
Maybe 4 years from now, we'll step away from electing septuagenarians for a while.
Hold on, multi. Yeah.
Multi?
Yeah.
Blood in there.
He's gotta
Maybe,
go.
maybe we can just maybe we'll just get lucky and he'll just pass away of totally natural causes, peacefully surrounded by all the people who care for him,
Yeah.
and we won't have to worry about him.
One thought. Multi,
Yeah.
the Savage, thank you for joining us.
Of course, anytime.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're gonna have a special show where you and Giggler just yell at each other.
Oh,
Sounds good. Hey, I'm sorry to say that a lot of the things that the Giggler's been saying, has more and more merit.
Yeah, you know what? It was like a month ago where he was like, "Yeah, they're gonna overturn the Electoral College, and there's a chance." And I'm like, "No, that's not a thing."
It's not just you, Multi. No one's really happy when I'm right.
Speaking like a true manager.
Wait till the Mormons find out.
Oh my god! Yeah, send this to them.
Please.
All right.
All right, Multi. Take
Bye.
care.
Fun.
If anyone is in a channel, you can ping us in the Discord server. The link for our Discord server. Hold on, I'm gonna put it up.
Oh, drop something.
Did you get it?
What? No, I dropped the lid to my something.
Oh, okay. The link of our Discord server is right there down below. If you want to join in with us on the conversation live with all of us here now, there is space.
Is that the link?
That's the link.
Does that work?
It works. I don't know. Maybe.
They're trying.
Yeah.
Oh, Giggler. Jack just called you out.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
That Giggler convincing people with such bad arguments is good evidence that Trump shouldn't be allowed to speak.
Jack's never liked you very much.
We're going to bring Jack on to yell at you, too.
Oh, yeah. They're going to love it. Wow.
I think you're like, I mean, I agree with you on a lot of this, so I can't talk, but I think you're like a professional wrong person.
You think so?
Yeah. I think you like being wrong.
I like looking at things from another perspective.
Yeah,
I like seeing things
That's a fancy word.
that I don't hold. That's a good point.
What was that? I didn't quite catch
What
it.
did she say?
Basically, her calling me an idiot.
Elle said there's always Trump TV thing that might happen. Trump's all about stroking the ego and money. I mean, I've been convinced for months now that Trump's end goal is to start a media, corporation after this.
Yeah.
I can see it happening.
And I think it's going to be very successful. It has built-in millions of supporters, and if it's behind a paywall, and if it's people are willing to pay $5 or $10 a month for it, and he can be bringing in millions of dollars a month just from talking, and and convincing people that whatever he says is the only truth out there.
Yeah.
And he's the only viable, the only legit media source. We've seen exponential growth of these, what were formerly, really small alternative media sources like the Epoch Times and Newsmax and CNN and all these, like, they used to be small, like just a year ago. But when Facebook and Twitter started cracking down on, far right activists and activism, these sources are growing exponentially across the board. And he's gonna be the center of all of that.
I've been watching a lot of One American News because when Trump speaks, they're the only channel that carries him. Everybody else bails out when he starts lying.
Yeah, but that only started like a month ago.
Yeah. Yep.
And now again, that's just leading to more and more of their support. But and he's kind of pushed back against some of these other outlets a little bit here and there as well, just like he's pushing back against Fox because he's going to take their viewership.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's only recently that kind of occurred. I think my biggest issue, apart from all the Trump stuff, is just how all of that rioting business occurred yesterday. The fact that all of those people got a fucking foot in the door is beyond disbelief without any type of harm. Granted, yes, there were casualties. One actual casualty from, I believe, a person that was actually a member of said group.
Yep.
And then
somebody trying to get in through the window or something.
Right, and other 4 happened to die of other kind of
unrelated
people.
They're calling them medical emergencies, but they're not saying exactly what they were.
Right.
I think
Exactly.
one person I think was like nearby when one of them happened. They say like the person just had like a heart attack because of the excitement of everything happening. So
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, there's a
No.
lot of like, intermixed with the younger people. There was a lot of just like older people. Like, if you watch the live stream of the people like leaving, you saw a wide range of ages. So I could see that if somebody who was older, who was just kind of there, not to storm the Bastille, but to just be there and support a Trump, suddenly it all erupts. They're not
Mhm.
prepared for this.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. Jane Doe said, "Imagine how many people will buy into that and be on a 24-hour fastest propaganda machine." Yeah. So if Trump gets his own, media outlet, it'd be that. It'd be 24-hour far right fascism,
Mhm.
nationalism,
Mhm.
pandering to extremists.
Yeah, and
And
you just get more and more people like that.
yeah,
I need to like find a book or something that like how did other countries deal with these sort of if they were able to deal with it. 'Cause it seems like a lot of the fascist countries, the way they dealt with it was the fascists took over, ran the place for a while, and eventually they got blown up and taken out of power. I hope we don't have to deal with that. I'm I'm thinking that America is just too big for that to really happen, except for in a small area of the country. Because even if like Washington got taken over, would every governor like just turn over and give up? Or no, they would, I feel like they would defend their states against things like that, or run their states while
Hmm.
they went and did their thing. I'm sure they try to fight it, but I just think like unlike Germany, which is much smaller than the United States and other countries, America's
Hmm.
just too big for the entirety of it to be taken under fascist
well,
rule.
it doesn't need to be the entirety, right? It just needs to be key members of Congress and the legislature. And to be clear, we were almost there, right? Mitch McConnell was blocking everything that the progressive and Democrats were putting on the table. The Supreme Court is already leaning 6-3 conservative, and Trump in the White House. The only thing that was saving anybody from anything was the Democratic lead in the House. Otherwise, the Republicans would have just rammed through anything that they wanted, and it could have been a lot of sweeping changes. And the Supreme Court would have done nothing to stop them.
Mm.
It doesn't take a lot.
But there's still the independent living of all the governance of all the states. So yes, there'd be certain things. That's also assuming that all the states would be willing to go along with it, and every single person would be willing to go along with it if it reached a certain level of fascism. It's one thing if they do conservative policies. It's another if they're going, full blown everything. Like how are they going to have enough to control the entirety of the country?
Well, what are you talking about by what do you mean by controlling the country and full blown fascist policies? Like what do you think they would need to implement that would have been pushed up against by the states?
I mean, because even with like that's the thing. It's because it didn't happen. Because all the states, there were some that were under, Trump, but a lot of them, continued to carry on as they were. There's still things that only the state controls, and
Mm-hmm.
they run. You go to the East Coast, it's going to be different than what's happening in the middle, in the Midwest. There's still disparately different areas. So in
Yeah,
order
but
for it to be like full blown, like Germany, where everything was taken over, I just feel like there'd have to be way more people.
yeah, I don't think we would get to a point where we like nationalize industries, not
Yeah.
not on any wide scale, but they could make sweeping changes that are, voter suppression, anti LGBTQ plus
Mhm.
policies. Um, uh,
That could
they,
still be undone by state things, though.
they can overrun like or overturn like Roe v. Wade. They can. There's a lot of things that they could have done that move in that direction with no
But
opposition.
again, with those though, even if they overturn stuff like that, states still are able to do it. Because even if like Roe v. Wade was overturned, there's still state laws that would allow certain things like that. That would still allow abortions and everything.
On some places, right? But
In some places, not the entirety, but the entire. It's not like if Roe v. Wade was overturned, the entire infrastructure of abortion in every single state would fall apart.
no, but we already have enough states where there's no
Yeah.
infrastructure to begin with. right?
Yeah.
There's states where you have to go hundreds of miles, or there might only be no abortion clinics or planned pregnancy clinics or whatever in your entire county. That's already a thing, right? Allowing this to be like unfettered policy attacking this infrastructure would just make it worse. It's already bad. It would just make it worse. Like we've just legalized gay marriage, and we have enough Supreme Court justices that will happily get rid of it.
That's true.
And so it's not like there's a lot of checks and balances in place when you have these like these super hardcore Christian Trump supporters in the Supreme Court. And when you have somebody like Mitch McConnell controlling the Senate, and it doesn't matter when Mitch McConnell, when the one person in charge of the Senate, if they're bad enough, the rest of them don't matter because the vote never even hits the floor. Mm-hmm. They don't even get a vote if he says it.
Right.
So I mean, it could have been a lot worse very quickly, which is what a lot of people were very concerned about.
Yeah, somebody came to their senses, and maybe it was them being chased out of the Capitol building that brought them to their senses.
Who came to their senses?
Mitch McConnell did.
No, Mitch McConnell saved his future.
He saved his future. Now he's a minority leader.
We could be cynical about it, yeah, but he stood up and acknowledged,
"Hey, not cynicism.
This is over."
That's not cynicism.
Mitch McConnell saved Mitch McConnell.
Yeah.
Now all of the centrist or center right, whatever, blah blah blah, are going to see him as a very very reasonable, middle of the road uniter.
Which is bullshit. And Ted Cruz is still preaching the same sermon because he wants to be president in 4 years. He's still on that shit. And then Lindsey Graham wants to hide his tail, and that's bullshit too.
Yeah.
No one changed their heart on nothing.
Yeah, Jack. Acknowledging reality is called cynicism now. Hey, I'll be right back.
You're cool. No, but really, Giggler, that's not cynicism. That's for real. You can't. No, that's not allowable to excuse the fact that now that they were already in the process before all that happened to already try and downplay and deny Biden from being the president-elect. Then all of a sudden people are infiltrating our Capitol building, and once all that shit was over, now it's like, let's change our speech now, and okay, well, this was bad. But they said very little, and a little of them said very little.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I can't believe that there was still, 150-ish representatives who were voting to a third of Congress.
Yeah.
Bizarre. It's utterly bizarre. If I had told you guys 2 months ago that when Congress tried to count the electoral votes, they would be chased out of the Capitol by a mob, you would have thought that the most unlikely thing you could possibly imagine, right? But it happened.
I don't know. Have either of you listened to the podcast, The Worst Year Ever?
No. I've heard of it.
It's a podcast by a independent journalist with a bunch of independent journalists, and this is what they've been talking about pretty much. And they were kind of the guy who's the main guy, Robert Evans, talks about a lot of this sort of thing, like fascism. He went to war zones and talked about how those have been taken over. So he kind of was saying from the beginning that something like this would have happened, and he was like, "We've been warning people, we've been telling people, I've been telling people," and they just don't.
No, Giggler, was you saying the whole stuff that would have happened yesterday would have us not believing you, I believed it. I thought it would have happened election night if, all that.
I wouldn't have thought that they would have gotten into the Capitol, but I would have easily believed that they would have tried.
Yes.
I wouldn't have believed that the police would just let them in.
Yeah.
And then Congress would go hide in their offices under tables.
Yeah.
That was a little wild. But
I can also say something that's really gonna calling this a coup attempt is a bit wildly inaccurate.
I don't think they're smart enough to even try.
It is.
Just realize that what happened was a mob got into the Capitol building, and as soon as they got inside, they went, "Okay, now what are we gonna do?" Like they had no plan, no notion what they were there for. They were just mad about something and wanted to break things.
But why did they choose that day? Mm-hmm. Even if every individual didn't choose it, but why was it chosen to be that day at that time? And what would have happened if they stopped the procedures from ever occurring?
I think what he's trying to say is when we think of coups, like coups that have been successful, it's always been like more of an not like an organized, I guess more organized in that it's the
people don't stumble into them. Yeah.
Well,
it sounded like
not,
it was just
not everybody stumbled into it though, right? Like there's a reason Trump had a rally in DC on that day at that time. It was to rile the people up. It wasn't an accident.
Yeah, and how can you not say that wasn't organized? You literally had people with guns and zip ties. They just didn't come out of their house and
I wanted to describe this on Twitter as an armed insurrection, and then I realized, well, that wouldn't really be accurate. I'm sure some people were armed.
Mayhem and rioting.
There wasn't enough people armed with any sort of training or direction to actually accomplish their goal. Not even close, right? Most of the people were just aimlessly wandering, going, look at all this cool shit. I'm going to take a statue or something.
Sure.
I think it's wise to, when talking about this, avoid being hyperbolic about it and make sure we're really accurately describing what actually happened.
But
you can go and say it was seditious or something like that because they were in fact trying to stop the proper procedure and stick with that.
No, I'm gonna tell you what happened then, Giggler. I'm not gonna be hyperbolic about it. A horde of people infiltrated the Capitol building in DC.
Yep.
Stole a bunch of shit.
Yep.
A few people got killed.
Yep.
Property was destroyed, and Congress people were fighting for their lives.
Yep.
Well, they weren't.
If it was any other group, aka Black Lives Matter, when they protested, and that same building where hordes of armed law enforcement were at the freaking steps, blocking them from entering. You didn't see that shit yesterday.
I do not disagree.
Yeah, and there were, to be clear, there were people that were under the impression that there was going to be some sort of outside support, some sort of outside action, something that was going to hold the Democrats accountable on that day at that time. And it would end the entire democratic process and install Trump as president. Mm-hmm. I mean, this was public information that a lot of people followed. And it's a conspiracy theory, but it's a conspiracy theory that they followed, that they believed in, that other people put out there. Right. And you had people like, Sidney Powell and all them, release the Kraken. We're going to do this. And then the QAnon, the entire QAnon community was convinced that yesterday was a day of reckoning for Biden and Harris and the entire Democratic party. And those are the people that fly across the country to go do this shit. Not, I just woke up, I didn't have anything better to do. They spent money and took off work or whatever to go storm and raid the Capitol because they literally believed that this was going to save the nation, and put Trump back in office, even though he lost. They weren't just there for fun or because, their friend got killed and, in the street by a cop or something. They did this for a purpose.
Yeah.
I wonder how many people who entered the Capitol building yesterday went to Washington yesterday believing they were going to enter the Capitol building. I would wager not very many. You think so?
There was a good portion that thought it was going to be like some sort of revolution. They were here for the revolution. So
that's the thing.
The mindset.
Yeah.
That's already the mindset. Like, okay, fine. I'll accept that argument that maybe half of the people didn't believe they were going to storm the building, but they did anyway, and the other half had the revolution on their mind and they were going to do it. Fine, I'll grant you that. But the fact that that even freaking happened, that even, as much as those people were even able to get into the building is fucking ridiculous.
It's terrifying. Yeah.
And the fact that there was no fucking press conference even later that night, but until today. When you have other, when other unfortunate riots happen, when there is a wrongful shooting of a Black person, and you immediately have, what do you call it? Guards and press conferences and all this other shit, and they want to claim that Black Lives Matter, they're destroying businesses, they're the ones stealing. Hell, you're fucking stealing from your own federal government. And there's very little said and done.
Pull up Jack's comment, because I don't think that's fair.
Jack is going ham. Jack is going ham. Jack, we need you in here.
When I want to pardon this guy.
And you know what? No, it is fair. It is fair to say that.
I think it's fair, but also at the same time, I think that the pardon is not necessarily that he doesn't deserve or warrant being arrested and locked up. It's just that in the grand scheme of what's best moving forward, that it may not be the wisest decision in terms of the overall outcome, not on any individual level.
Right. Make no mistake, I want to see him in jail. And me saying that out loud again means my wife's going to start yelling at me again. But I want to see him in jail. But I also question, is that the best way forward for the country?
Well, I don't, to Jack's point, I don't think leaving him to, create his 24-hour fascism cycle of recruitment is better.
That's another good question. Does putting him in jail stop him from doing that? Does anybody think that stops him? Is he going to Rikers Island?
Yes.
No, he's going to some country called prison where his family, his network will run things for him.
Yeah, but they're not.
Everything.
No, they're not. No. They're not as influential as that's the whole thing.
Everything will be more successful because he'll be in jail. Everything will be more successful because he'll be in jail.
No, and I'm not even promoting that. I'm not even promoting the fact that, because I don't even believe he will ever go in jail. I'm not promoting that. I never said that. Ideally,
I can't say anything to make Jack happy.
But you can. No,
I think he might be mad at the one person, Rollin, who's in there. So
no,
yeah. I'm not promoting that, but there needs to be some type of punishment. We can't just allow him to have his own fucking bullshit network after this. Or whatever he's trying to do.
I mean, he's going to do that.
Yeah, we can't stop him either.
It's unfortunate that we have such a system where it's like the limited options are just, we go to jail or we fine them a lot. And it's like, well, we can't really fine Trump that much. He'll just claim bankruptcy and still have money somehow. Or, put him in jail. It's like, all right, I guess we can attempt to do that. We can't take we can't take his internet away. We can't declare he is no longer allowed to do certain things. It's just not commonplace. I mean, there's some legal stuff that can be done, but not to this degree.
I want my internet.
Well, we've seen this. I've seen it one time before. One time where a person, their website was banned from the internet, and not only that, but the website registrars, the people that give you IP addresses in web space, also ban this person. So they basically can have no presence on the internet. I've seen it one time. But that's not something that we normally do, no matter how terrible a person or an organization is. I mean,
if he's just smart enough not to directly say, go and kill Democrats, it will most likely be allowed if he's just able to say nonsense, and if people act on that, he's not liable for it, unless he says, go do this.
I want to know, so Jack doesn't want him to go to jail, and Jack doesn't want him to have his radio station. I want to know what Jack's solution is, because it's probably the opposite of whatever Giggler says.
You know what, Giggler? I love you. You're my friend, and that's fine.
But I don't like you. Yeah.
No, you're right. No, I wasn't going to say that. Obviously, we see it differently, and that's okay. That's
I don't know if you understand how I see it.
No, I don't.
I'm thinking out loud.
Jack isn't legally allowed to say what they want.
Yeah, I'm still forming my thoughts on this. So when I'm thinking out loud, don't get the impression that I'm asserting something, because I'm really not.
I know you.
I don't know. I don't know if a 3-year-long prosecution of Donald Trump is in the best interest of this country, especially when there's a good chance it'll come to nothing. Right? Now all we've done is platformed him. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. I'm saying that that's something we take into account when we consider it. It's not that easy. Things aren't that easy.
It is tough that you on one hand you have like, this is the law, you broke the law, these are the set consequences for breaking the law.
Right.
Here's your consequences handed down. And then on the other hand, we have people that are so powerful, so rich, so famous, so popular, that we have the law. Now we have to take into account all these externalities, all these different scenarios. Now we have to, imagine what these millions of people are going to do if we apply the same rules of this. This is the law you broke. These are the consequences.
It's bullshit.
It's tough to say that we have a fair and just legal system when that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
We don't. Who thinks we do?
I don't.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if anybody legitimately does, but we would like to have that.
Like, can we not make the effort to move towards that? Yes, it is difficult. Yes, it will be a long ass process. I'm willing to accept that.
Are we ever gonna live in a world where Bill Gates is motivated to not speed on the freeway because he's concerned about the fine? It's never gonna happen. He always gets to drive as fast as he wants to.
Well, we can if we write our laws more appropriately. So, I mean, there's definitely proposals and ideas out there that we do things like that by percentages versus flat fees. If Bill Gates was fined $60 million for speeding, he might think about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jack, I agree. It must be nice. It must be nice to freely have that thought, it's, because it impacts us differently.
Take Bill Gates' wealth, simple. Yeah. Redistribute.
Mm-hmm. It impacts us differently.
I'm all for that one.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't think anybody should be able to amass that kind of wealth. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, he's at like 80 billion now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
At least he's somewhat decent in that he's one of them that are trying to give the wealth away. Doesn't excuse him from everything, but at least he's not terrible with everybody.
That doesn't make him a good person.
You don't maintain $80 billion of wealth for decades if you're trying to give it away, right? He's trying to use some of it to do some good. Mm-hmm. He's not trying to give it all away.
I don't know, Justin. I don't think you can get rid of $80 billion.
Oh, I can buy some shit.
Not that kind of wealth.
Who needs a vaccine today?
$80 billion.
Who needs a vaccine today?
It grows faster than you can get rid of it.
There's a lot you can do, though.
It's a lot of fucking you can do.
If we look through history, people who've amassed wealth like that, what do? They spend the latter portion of their lives trying to give it away.
Mm-hmm.
Now there is the idea of I can do so much good with this amount and then accrue more to do more good later. If I have this other huge amount collecting interest and whatever on my investments, you can do more good in the long run. But I mean, to be clear, you don't just have that much money if you're trying to give it away. There's people that have given a lot of money away, and it happens, right? Mm-hmm. Look at Jeff Bezos' divorce. His wife became like a top 10 richest person on the planet overnight because he had to give her all that money. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's not like it was hard to do. The court said, here's half your shit, and now it's hers.
Think of it this way. Jeff Bezos' net worth right now is more than $200 billion. there is about 328 million U.S. Americans right now.
We're not. I mean, I think that's a silly argument of this one rich person can do so much good for every single person. Because once you break it all down, it's not that much per person. But they could do a lot for vulnerable groups, though.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You don't need to give an amount to every single. You don't need to give an equal amount to every single person, because not everybody needs that money. But
right, stop.
Like trying to figure out that.
Jenna, what were you gonna say?
You already said it. But yeah. I don't know what Stick said.
Sorry, Jack. I apologize. I don't want to get on your giggler side.
Oh, that started a year ago when I got to Discord too. Right away.
With Jack?
Yeah.
No, it's been a long time. We're gonna
what's frustrating is I get convinced that I'm wrong every time. Every damn time.
you start with the same arguments and
I'm still wrong the next time.
Let Jenna fish.
Dang. Yeah, I'm alright. I'm still kind of angry. I'm sorry, but I just.
At what?
Oh, just the events of yesterday. It was already initially, I was anxious and scared, and then just seeing all of that develop, and then the images and how far they got, it was just like stunning. And you think back on all the Black Lives Matter protests and how the wrongful shootings of all these people, and even recently with no charges against that damn police officer that left that man crippled. Mm-hmm. Like it's just the point that I was going to get to is that if we continue with the mindset that we just have to accept that this is just how it is because it is, things will never fucking change. That's why we always still talk about race. That's why we always still talk about racism, because shit still hasn't fucking changed. Things have mildly improved. We don't have slaves anymore. Maybe, yay. But they're still wrong with certain minority groups. They're still wrong with certain groups of marginalized groups in general. So if we keep with the attitude that, just because this one rich, famous person would, we're going to upset all these other people because we're locking this person up. But they've done wrong. They broke laws. How is that fair? If we keep with that mentality, then we never will change our own mentality of actually having lawful laws and people abiding by them. And we never will be the kind of country that we selfishly see ourselves as, because we're not. We're not great. This is not greatness.
I mean, I agree, yeah. And there's a lot of stuff we need to do, so.
And yes, I'm willing to wait as long as it fucking takes, because at least there's progress. I'm not sitting on my ass saying, oh, it'll never change. Like, screw it. Like, just let him, do the bullshit he needs to do in 2 weeks.
I mean, I don't think anyone said it's never going to change, let's not do anything, but acknowledging what is likely to happen if we do certain actions.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I mean, we know that the Democrats have the House, the Senate, and the executive office. They better do something meaningful with it.
Yes, and I hold their feet to the fire just as much as I hold feet to the fire to Republicans too. I do, even though I lean liberal and I vote Democratic, but yeah, they got to get their shit going too. Mm-hmm. I'm done.
Yeah, I felt like when I'm in a very liberal state, and like all of my representatives are like liberal, so every time I wanted to send them something like, hey, do this thing that's completely anti-Trump, I'm like, I don't need to tell them that, they're going to do it anyway. But now that we have more of a...
What state are you in? Oh, you're on the East Coast, right?
Yeah, East Coast, East.
Yeah.
But and yeah, but now it's like, okay, now we have the Democrats in charge. We just have to make sure that they do progressive enough things. So that's actually, I feel like we can actually talk to them and give them more guidance than what they weren't doing before.
Yeah.
Hey, Ollie man, better late
Ollie,
than never.
Ollie man, how dare you?
Oh shit. Yeah, Jenna's on a thing tonight. Don't do it.
I am sorry.
If you're late, just come in quiet and don't say anything.
You know what? I'm on one because it's the new year and it's exciting.
I think she's allowed.
I'm allowed.
It's been an exciting first week of 2021.
To be quite honest, and Justin knows me, it's very rare that I get like this. So I had to have my time.
Yeah, the last time Democrats had this lineup, this opportunity, was when the ACA was passed, the PPACA, when they rammed it through with 0 Republican votes because they didn't need it. Now that was a big legislature. It was flawed in many ways because it was mostly rewritten by insurance companies, in my opinion. And it had a lot of concessions to Republicans that were unnecessary.
Yeah.
Because we didn't need the support to pass it. But
Right.
but something big like that is what is on the table now. Bigger than Trump's tax reform or anything else that we got going on, or that has happened in recent years. They can make sweeping changes, but they just have to follow through with it.
Please.
I think we have enough progressives or leftists, kind of synonymous with that, in the House now, making enough noise that will encourage them to start making some of the policy changes that are actually popular with voters. They're going against voters in a lot of things because they're just there's so many people that are so damn old and so set in their ways and so center, or what they think is the center, that they're afraid to make these sweeping changes even though they're popular.
I mean, that just means we have to speak up more and show them that that's what we want. Like, I think I can't think exactly what it was, but there are some policies where they're like, oh, we would never agree to this policy, but even though most of the people agree with it, it's like, well, are all those people telling all of them on a constant basis, or are they only hearing from their loudest supporters?
Well, yeah, it's tough when you're in a situation where even if they never listen to the people, they still get the people's vote, because you're in the situation where you feel like you have to pick the lesser of two evils every time.
Yeah.
And it's tough to get away from that because we end up in these cycles like Trump versus Biden, where it's like, well, shit, I want to vote my conscience and vote in my best interest and this and that, but I only have two options, and one's worse than the other. There's no one to vote for that represents your, the policies that you want to implement.
And that's why we do Jena for president.
Woo!
I like it.
Whenever she's able.
I'm not of age yet. I'm get there. I have 10 more years.
Yes.
I got 9.
Anyways, okay, I've had enough. We went long. Thank you, Jane Doe.
2024. No, I don't think. Is 2024 early enough? We need 2028.
34. I don't think that's right though. 32.
2034. There we go.
Anyway,
we'll figure it out. We'll workshop. We'll get it ready. We'll remember through Discord for presidency.
You could see Giggler contemplating ways to not piss off Jack.
I don't even know if he's still here.
Giggler's trying to find a way to get on their good side, and it's just nothing is clicking. Just the wheels are spinning and not stopping at any stop.
That's okay. If Multi's not here,
yeah.
Jack here. Final thoughts. Let's wrap it up. Brass, thank you for joining us. This was fun. We appreciate you being here.
Thanks for dragging me in off the street.
Oh, of course.
So you want to do your own podcast, probably a little more legit than just getting drunk and talking at each other.
I mean, I'm just drinking water. I don't know about y'all.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, I mean,
Getting hydrated. At some point, it's still in the works, so I'm keep it under wraps until I actually get that on the move.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. There's a lot of good podcasts out there, and all of them, the ones that I listen to, are really well organized. You know, they're focused on point. They get like people that actually know what they're talking about as featured hosts instead of like me or Giggler that are just drunk rambling. So no, it's good to have a plan. You know.
Yep.
it is.
Essentially, what the premise of it would be is trying to do kind of deep dives into certain arguments that are made. There's one part that's the religious part where it's certain arguments that are made by religious people in general on why they listen to this or why they agree with certain things, and then trying to do others where it's deep dives into interesting things like everyone hates socialism and they use Venezuela as like the basis for why socialism will fail, and I'm like, all right, I'm curious like what exactly caused Venezuela to fail, because I don't know actually. Like I have guesses, but I want to see like particularly like what happened, what was the socialist policies, like what was it, and kind of pick apart at it and do kind of deep dives into things like that as another part. It'll be fun.
That's good. Static said we need a podcast list with links of all of IFWAS with a summary. Like, I'm not listening to all of these again to figure out what the hell we talked about.
What did we talk about last time?
I know that one of them is Giggler talking about Mormons.
Yeah, that's like the most viewed episode we had because this guy happened to share it.
Yeah,
plug it all over the place.
So how about Static from now on? We'll write you a summary starting from this episode.
Personally,
and we'll just say Static was here as a summary.
I like it. Well, until you get your feet off the ground, of course, you're welcome to join us every Thursday. Of course, we always have Giggler Savage, joining us too every Thursday as well. Obviously, everyone out there listening to us, chatting in the comments, thank you so much. We appreciate this so much. We had double-digit views. Justin.
I know. And
have
Jack,
we made it?
Jack, if you ever want to come on and yell at us, you're more than welcome.
Please do. Jack is awesome.
Just put Malty, Giggler, and Jack in one room, and we'll just sit back and watch.
Oh, when Jack talks, they talk.
I got a microwave right here. I'll make some popcorn. I'll make enough for all of us.
Really, like all you just need to sit back and just
throw it through the camera. We'll get it.
Let it go. But order of business. Moving forward, like we're kind of restructuring, IF server, right, Justin? We're kind of working that out whenever we bump heads, and I've been, actively reaching out to other podcast people that I think they do great work, that I think people should know about, and we want to share their stuff and, reach out to them and have everyone out there listen to what they do, because, we don't ask for Patreon donations, stuff like that. We just want to both people that already do good things, great things for the community already. People that, like Justin said, have actual professionals on their show that know their shit, that talk about stuff. Like we have our own backgrounds. Like I'm a medical professional. Justin, you got that HVAC thing going on.
I do things.
He does things. I don't know what he does, but we have our specialties, but we're not professionals in anything else. We just have good conversation. That's all we really wanted to do with this show, and we've done it for a year now, which is awesome. So we appreciate the growing fan base, how we've grown the server too, and we just want to try and do more. And that means reaching out to other smaller content creators that are actively doing something for themselves too, and the community as a whole. So that's in the works. We're bringing on more people, so tune in for that. Of course, anyone out there that wants to join us each week Thursday evening, you're welcome to have you. Justin, final words?
No, that's it. We'll be in we'll be in the IF server for the after show.
Yes, IF server. If you're not already part of it, copy or type that however you get there. Do it. You can find. Do the needful. I'm learning. Okay, see, professional. You can find Justin at facebook.com/skeptech, where he posts all of the awesome memes. You can find me at facebook.com/black female atheist, where I barely post anything yet, but you know, I share his shit, so that's something. So we'll get there. You can find Giggler on the Atheist Community of Discord. Well, we're all pretty much there on the Atheist Community of Discord because we're moderators. So find us there too. Yeah.
Although in the immediate future, look for me on the Christian Discord servers hiding from
Why
Jack.
You intentionally do this to yourself.
A little bit, yeah. A little bit.
Okay. All right. Until then, that's it.
Think freely.
Bye.
Bye.